Hey everybody, how's it going? And the Nintendo Switch is about to be 1 year old soon. And I felt that it would be fitting to do a video talking about the Switch's success and failures and things that I feel that could be improved upon, just my experience having the Switch for about a year now. So the first thing I want to say is that you're probably going to hear some noises. I'm sitting in a grocery store parking lot right now. I wanted to record this video kind of impromptu, just because it's kind of fresh on my mind, everything that I want to say. And without further ado, let's get into the video. So the Nintendo Switch, this has been a system of highs and lows so far. I felt that coming out from the Wii U, there was a lot of negatives with the Wii U. The Wii U, it launched and it was confusing for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't even know it existed. It had some of the most awful advertising I've ever seen in my life. And then it also had droughts where games just, kept being delayed, or games, had like 9-month droughts of no games. It was a disaster. And a lot of people, I remember one thing with the Wii U, back when it first announced, the first trailer was all, oh, the new controller, do all this with the new controller. So I thought, like any rational human being, oh, this is a new controller for the regular Wii. So I guess Nintendo is just going to focus mostly on the 3DS for right now, and they're not going to really release a new console. That was kind of my thought process at the time. So it's kind of crazy to think that, oh no, that was a new system. It's just it was marketed so bad. And I knew a few people that had one, but for the most part, I didn't really know a lot of people that really had a Wii U. I know a lot of people even bought a Wii U just for Smash. But I actually decided not to get one at first. At one point, I was seriously considering picking up a Wii U, but I decided to just wait it out. And my main reasoning for that was because I was afraid that since the Wii U was a flop, that Nintendo would take a lot of their Wii U games and re-release them for the new system. Now, I've had some people say, oh, well, there's no way you could have known. There's no way that you could have guessed that. Like, do you have a time machine? Are you some sort of wizard? But sure enough, a lot of the big Wii U games have been ported over to the Switch. So I was right. I was 100% right in waiting on getting the Wii U, because guess what? Mario Kart's on the Switch. Pokemon's on the Switch. Bayonetta 2's on the Switch. Donkey Kong Tropical Freeze, which I've never played it, but I've heard a lot of people say it's one of the best platformers ever. That's coming to the Switch. Splatoon 1 isn't on the Switch, but we got Splatoon 2. Zelda Breath of the Wild, which was supposed to be the big Wii U Zelda game, that got put on the Switch. So at this point, what games are we realistically missing? Like what relevant game? What system selling amazing games are we really missing on the Switch right now? I would argue just Smash Bros. At this point, I would argue that the only big relevant system selling game that we're missing for the Switch is Smash Bros. So and we know here's my prediction about Smash Bros. First of all, the question isn't if we're gonna get a new Smash Bros. The question is when. The question is, when are we gonna get a new Smash Bros? They're gonna do one of two things. No, I take that back. They're gonna do one of three things. They're going to either make a Smash Bros Deluxe, which is kind of, just Smash Bros Wii U, but just maybe like a few extra features added to it. The second option is they're going to make an entirely brand new Smash Bros, Smash 5 basically, a completely new Smash game, a new engine, new characters, slightly different gameplay. It's going to be a completely new game. The third option is they're just going to directly port Smash 4 to the Wii U and call it a day. Those are pretty much the only three options that are going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when. So let's continue back to when the Wii U first came out. I mean, when the Wii U, I keep saying Wii U. When the Switch first came out, I remember I had a kind of a big party. I got some friends together, some people that I haven't even seen for a while. I managed to, invite them, and we played a few of the multiplayer games. I know one dude had 1-2 Switch, and we played that. I know we played Bomberman. We also played a little bit of Snipper Clips, and for the most part, I keep saying Wii U. For the most part, the Switch's launch, I've seen a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just a Zelda. It was just a Zelda machine." Well, people seem to forget that when consoles launch, you don't get dozens and dozens and dozens of amazing games right out the gate. This comes over time. Over time, the console kind of hits its stride, and that's when you start getting the amazing system selling games. Let's think back to when the PS4 came out. What amazing games did it have? What, Killzone, Knack, and that's pretty much all the real games I remember. And then it had a few third-party games, but I'm talking about exclusives. Like what system selling games to make me go, oh, I gotta run out and buy a PS4? Because think about it, a lot of people said that the PS4 was irrelevant until Bloodborne, because a lot of the games would be like, oh well, yeah, it has Call of Duty, Battlefield, and Assassin's Creed, but I can play that on last gen or PC, so it's like there's really no point. So I would feel that, and that the PS4, for instance, it didn't launch with amazing games right away. What did the Xbox One launch with? From my memory, it was pretty much the only relevant games was Dead Rising 3 and Rise Son of Rome, and that was basically it. So people need to stop saying, oh well, it was just a Zelda machine. Well, how come nobody say, oh, the PS4 was just it was just a Killzone or Knack machine, or the Xbox One was just a Dead Rising or Rise Son of Rome machine. So that's just a little complaint that I saw people having back when the Switch first came out that was completely ludicrous. It was ridiculous. All right, so now let's get on to what I feel needs to be done about the Switch now, and what I would like to see happen to the Switch later on. So if I could go to Japan right now, this is the first thing I would tell all of the developers, all of the engineers and programmers at Nintendo. I would tell them, stop everything you are doing. I don't care what you're doing, stop. And we need to devote all resources to getting a way to back up save data for the Switch. How a company could release a system in 2017 that doesn't have these basic features is ridiculous. We don't have voice chat, we don't have achievements, we don't have apps, we don't have cross game chat. So many basic things, we don't have it. And the reason why save data backup is so important is because at any point, as with any technology, it could just stop working. Or you can accidentally knock the Switch over. The Switch isn't that big. You can actually, knock it over or drop it, and it can get damaged. The port that hooks it up to the dock and charge it could just stop working. I've seen people saying, well, their Switch just stopped charging, or their Switch stopped connecting to a dock. And unless you want to only use your Switch in portable mode, you're going to send it into Nintendo, and then there's a chance that they could lose your data. I remember one guy was complaining a while back. I think his name was Brian Altano. He's like a big industry dude, and he was talking about, I love the Switch. The Switch is great, and then he had to send his Switch in for repair because I think it stopped connecting to a dock. And then Nintendo emailed him back and said, oh yeah, sorry, all this progress and whatnot you had on your Switch is all gone, sorry. And it's just kind of like, this is ridiculous. So I know for me, I have a lot of hours. I have 200 hours in Binding of Isaac. I have almost 100 hours in Mario Kart. I have about a little over 100 hours in Zelda. I have almost 100 hours in Xenoblade. So it's just, imagine losing all of that data. It's crazy. Like that's a crazy idea that shouldn't be a problem. And I'm gonna make another prediction, and you heard it from me first. If the Switch gets, well, not if, when the Switch gets hacked and when the Switch gets homebrew, what's going to start happening is, if there's a way to back up your save data by having a homebrewed hacked Switch, guess what? People are going to spread how to hack it, and people are going to start hacking their Switch that otherwise might not have hacked it. And they're going to try to find ways to back up their data just because the Switch is hacked now. They're going to go out and hack their Switch to have these basic features. So, and I'm going to tell you one thing. Depending on how hard it is to hack the Switch, and if there's a way to back up your save data, I actually might do it. I might hack my Switch just to have a way to back up and protect my save data, because, you know, I put in so many hours into my Switch that to lose all that is crazy. And I think that Nintendo is a very strange company, and I think they've shown that this is not a priority. They don't really care much about the consumer, because the only way a company could release a system like this in 2017, that tells me they're either incompetent or they don't care about what the consumer wants. They don't care about, so I do feel that Nintendo is very out of touch with what the consumer wants when it comes to features. Because I'm going to give you an analogy. Imagine if a company released a new operating system in 2017, but it couldn't do what Windows, Mac, and Linux was doing in the early 2000s. What if a company released a new smartphone, but it can't do basic things that the iPhone was doing in 2007, 2008? That's what the Switch is. It's a system that, yeah, it has a nice little gimmick, but it needs to have these basic features. Because another thing I want to point out, if you notice, game consoles are not only game consoles anymore. The days of you buying a system only for gaming is gone. That's in the past. When you buy systems now, they are multimedia machines. You buy them for communicating. You buy them for apps. You buy them for Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. You buy them for DVD and Blu-rays. So these systems that you buy are not just gaming, they're media systems. I would argue the last time you had a system that was only for gaming would probably be back in the Nintendo 64 days, because I want to say, I think the original PlayStation 1 could play CDs, and then the PlayStation 2 is what really kicked off the media thing that could play DVDs. And you know, and then back when the PS3 and 360 came out, that's when we had all these apps and internet browsers and all this stuff. So I gotta say, shame on Nintendo for releasing a system in 2017 that didn't have all these features. So pretty much the next thing I want to see is, what do I want to see for the future? Well, the very first thing I want to see is, I want to see them acknowledge that this is unacceptable, that they didn't have a system that had all these features that the consumer wants, because I feel that a company's responsibility is to satisfy the consumer and do what the consumer wants. And Nintendo, in some ways they have, but in some ways they completely dropped the ball. Because here's the thing, nobody's asking that Nintendo do anything impossible or something that can't be done. We're only asking that Nintendo release basic features. I'm going to point out one more thing. I'm going to drop this because I've been on this a little too long. Back when a system update leak came out, it was on YouTube and all over Reddit. People were talking about all these features and stuff that was in the leak. And I don't remember every single little thing that it had, but the point I'm making is, when people saw all the stuff that was supposedly going to be in the new system update, people were flipping out. People were like, oh my God, I can't wait. This is great. This is amazing. But then when you actually take a look at it, you stop and realize that, wait a minute, this is all basic features. People are getting excited for basic features. And that's when I was like, oh my goodness, Nintendo, why? So let's drop this Nintendo slander before the Nintendo fanboys drop down, before the Nintendo fanboys jump down my throat. But I complain because I want better, and the only way to get better is to demand better. Everybody should demand better from these companies. You need to demand better to get better. So anyway, the last thing I want to say before I end this video is that what I would like to eventually see is probably a Nintendo Switch revision. I would like to see kind of like a Nintendo Switch Pro, where it's released and it has a little bit bigger screen, it has like a little bit better battery life, and then it also, most importantly, has some under the hood improvements. So then I would like to see a Switch that can potentially run games at maybe higher resolutions, higher frame rate, maybe things like that. And then I feel that will be important because a lot of games probably won't come to the Switch due to it not being powerful enough. Like I know the thought of Red Dead Redemption 2 coming to the Switch, that would be great, but that's probably not going to happen. I know a lot of other games, like maybe like The Witcher 3, that would be great if that can come to the Switch, but that's probably not going to happen. So I would like to see maybe in a few years, maybe like in 2 years or so, Nintendo release a deluxe Switch or a Pro Switch that can maybe potentially run these games at a higher quality. I think that at this point it's kind of industry standard for these companies to release a better version of their system. In fact, Nintendo already did that with the new 3DS. But the problem with the new 3DS is not many games really took advantage of its abilities. I mean, like, yeah, it had better hardware, but pretty much the only thing they used that for was Super Nintendo games and Xenoblade 3D. I want to say it was Xenoblade 3D and maybe like a few other games, but for the most part, they didn't really take advantage of, the new 3DS's power. And that's pretty much it. I just kind of feel that, to summarize, the Switch is a pretty neat system, but it is severely lacking in basic features, and the most important feature that it needs before anything else is a way to back up your save data. And when the ability to back up save data comes out for hacking, people are going to start hacking their Switch just to be able to have these features. One more thing, I almost forgot. Nintendo's a little bit better at this, but I want to see them move away from this family-friendly kid image. I want to see more mature, thought-provoking, adult-oriented games on their system to try to diversify themselves. I would like to see, like a little bit less, not less, but I want to see in addition to. I'm not saying get rid of Mario, Kirby, and Zelda, or Splatoon. I'm not saying get rid of those games. And I'm not saying make those games adult and gritty. I'm just saying I would like to see some new game series that are mature and adult oriented. Kind of like Bayonetta. Nintendo snatching up the Bayonetta was a great idea. It's going to make their system seem a lot more mature and adult now. They're also getting, the like Doom and Wolfenstein. So I do feel that they're kind of stepping in the right direction. But I want to see more of this. I want to see some more mature games to try to break away from this childish image, this family-friendly image. I kind of feel that I feel that's very detrimental because I see no reason why it can't coexist. I don't see why we can't have Mario and Kirby in addition to some gritty, adult-oriented, bloody, type stuff on their system. I see no reason why Nintendo can't just release that in addition to what they're already doing. So this video is about to be 20 minutes long, and I hope that I kind of really covered a lot of my thoughts about the Nintendo Switch. If you guys have any thoughts of that you feel that Nintendo needs to improve or things that they're doing really good, leave those in the comments. I would love to see them. I read all comments. Thanks for checking out this video. You guys have a good day. Peace out.